So, in a clear attempt to put off what I need to be doing, I've instead decided to make the whole gantry for the payload welding. And you can see a similar setup. We've got Gatling gun again. Figured no point using a merge block when I don't need to. The system is kind of programmed up now, so we can reset. And basically, we've got a toggle for if there's a payload grid, so we can weld Lemmy wings with or without the grid. In this case, we're going to be putting a payload grid on it. And then you've got your launch forward and reverse. We're going to go reverse so that we send it that way. And then there's the launch left and right, which is currently disabled. And then at the bottom is all the projectors. And we're just going to do projector 1. And that's programmed. So now anytime it gets this trigger, it's going to go through the weld routine. So the nice thing about doing it this way is if you want to have something that's set up on a routine to weld up and then send, it's real easy to just program it in, and then you just put this on a timer. Stuff like that. But anyways, we can see that when we do this, we'll weld our Lemmy wings up, and then it's going to move it upwards and bring in the payload projector. And it has very limited welding capabilities because it's just on the edge. But it can do something simple like a seat and a connector or whatever. Ideally, I would have another welding rig on the top that could do a very big payload grid instead of this small payload grid. But yeah, you can see it's attached to the grid, and it's off. So you can see here in this case, it's a little bit lower than it was in previous versions because it is no longer on its own subgrid, but that's the full printer. Of course, we still need to program in the rest of the payload grids and stuff and create whatever. I'm thinking like something on a piston, a large grid piston that drops a bunch of large grid drills downwards. The only thing is I've made everything so it's kind of flush with this kind of floor, as well as basically tileable. It's only one block thick essentially, but it's so that if you have a payload grid that is more than 6 blocks wide, it won't collide with this or whatever welding rig I have. So the welding rig is going to have to be able to go up into the air, go down, and then it's going to have to be able to tuck over here or something below, or on the other side below, so that it's nice and out of the way. That way there's no limitation on how big the payload grid can be, other than the limitation of how it handles on Lemmy wings. But it's all set up in here. If we go to payload grids, you're able to not only does this turn on the projector and whatnot, this is payload connect, wrong one, sorry. Payload projector 1. So you turn on the projector, but you could also send it, say projector 1 is a large welding payload grid, so you would also add in here that you want to go to wheels. I don't have Lemmy wings welded right now, but you'd put the wheels all group in here and increase the suspension strength or whatever to match. So you're programming Lemmy wings as it's being printed, which is nice. And again, that's all automated with this, so it can all just be done completely autonomously. Send another one, no problem. I still haven't figured out the turning thing. Like I say, I was kind of avoiding that, and I just did this instead. And yeah. It does take a little bit extra time. I could probably shave a couple seconds here and there, but it's, generally speaking, not worth it. That kind of damaged bit there, it gets welded up as it returns. It doesn't really matter. Those ones get welded up like that, but yeah. I also did a little bit of extra subgridding here. Feeling like SE2 a little bit in here. Got a little seat if there's somebody in here. That's not really necessary, but I also made this little custom door because it just stops Lemmy-Winks from getting stuck on this corner. But it's enough for you to go through. The idea would be this whole section here would be sealed off. Where's my... no, wait. Buy one of these. And then... come on. That was embarrassing. This is why I don't build live. Fold under pressure. Anyways, this can be sealed off. So you have a nice sealed entrance, which means that the entire corridor I could see this being an issue if you're not particularly level on gravity. So once I fix the logic, I won't actually need this doorway anymore, actually, because it'll be able to ignore this turn. Yeah, see, I kind of got stuck there. Yeah, that's an easy fix. It looks cool for now, at least, but it should be this color. I also got rid of the beam blocks there, as I figured that just put unnecessary DLC on it. I see why that was red now. But yeah, that's where it is now. Like I say, I still have to figure out the turning logic, but I have an idea on that. It's just one of those things that it's going to take a minute of thinking about to figure out how to implement it in a way that fits within the constraints. Because if we go over here, let's just make it day. So I've got these two to basically be able to turn, right? So they force the turn whenever I come into a T intersection, and then now I've got these two EC blocks here, which I can use for invalid turn detection. So when there's no wall in front of it, but there's a turn on the right, that's considered an invalid turn because it always needs a wall in front of it to turn off of. So the idea is we'll have that detect when that's true, and then it's just going to cancel that turn out, so it just continues forward. And then these can be triggered with the action blocks or set up with, say, sensors at the turns, at the intersections. So you could have it say, so it's a default turn, so it turns left here, and then it's coming up here, and then this sensor says, oh no, you're now default turn right, so it turns right here and goes to this one. That's the idea. It's just a lot of tweaking so far. But otherwise, having gotten the welder mostly finished, I am quite happy. You see, we have to lift it up quite a bit higher. So this does mean with the connector not on a subgrid like it was before, it has to be lifted up in the corridor in order to be able to be connected to. So it kind of limits how you can put a payload grid onto Lemmiwinks, but with this whole welding system, it doesn't really matter, right? So that's the idea. I just made this hallway nice and snag proof. Smack my mic so that it can never really get stuck anywhere, which is nice. So this whole tunnel could be a complete pass, like this could just be part of your passageway loops. It doesn't have to be something special. I think that's all for today.